If you're considering a move to Las Vegas, there's a few things you should know before you do. In this video, I'm going to share 5 things that I wish I knew before I moved to Las Vegas, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, it's Ananda with eXp Realty, and I've been buying and selling real estate since 2016. If at any point during this video you have any questions, please leave a comment below or feel free to book a Zoom call with me using the info in the description. Now let's get into it. Number 1. How dry and arid it actually is. Now, obviously moving to Las Vegas, this is a desert, it's the Mojave, it's going to be dry, it's going to be arid, but I really wasn't quite prepared for how dry it actually was, especially during the summer months here. So for me, my skin totally changed, it dried up like a prune, I feel like I aged 5 years, my eyes were dry, I looked like I had perpetual allergies, and my nose was so cracked, and I know this is gross, but bleeding all the time, and it really was just one of those things that I wasn't prepared for. Not to mention the fact that I was just pretty much perpetually dehydrated no matter how much water I was drinking. So break out your humidifier, get some eye drops, and keep water at the ready all the time. However much you think you're drinking, you need like twice that. So yeah, that was my number 1. Number 2, the water restrictions. Now, obviously, we're in the middle of a mega drought and conserving water is absolutely necessary. And it's not just something that's affecting Nevada, it's the entire southwest of this country. So it is something that each individual state is responsible for, as well as the federal government in terms of conserving our precious water resource. However, I'm a big gardener. I've always loved planting my own food and having that available to me. And you know, when you move here, it is one of those things that you kind of have to realize that you're going to give up. You're going to be giving that up as well as some of the greenery. That's not to say that you can't water, but it is restricted. So in the spring, you can water 3 times a week. In the summer, it's 6 times a week. And then in fall, it's 3. Winter is 1 day out of the week. So I wouldn't want to anyways. I did try to have a garden, but it really, to me, just wasn't worth it. And I was feeling bad knowing that obviously we are in the middle of such a big drought and that water is incredibly precious and should be conserved. So yeah, reason number 3. Lack of nature. Now, this was one of the biggest points of contention for me in moving here in the first place, is that I'm very outdoorsy. I love to go hiking. I love spending time in nature, in greenery, in the mountains, rivers, things like that. And moving here, I knew that there was going to be a scarcity of that, but I wasn't quite prepared for how much of nature I would not necessarily have here, at least in close proximity. While the Red Rocks, Hoover Dam, Grand Canyon, and all of those things are incredibly beautiful, there's not really a whole lot of greenery or hiking to be had without going to somewhere like Mount Charleston, which isn't that far. It's 30-45 minutes away. However, it still is quite a hike to get out there. And for me, just driving through the city, there's not a whole lot of greenery, especially like I was talking about in point 2, because we're in a drought. The city is enacting some measures that's really taking out any unnecessary landscaping that is using up water. So you get a lot of rocky landscaping as well as like succulents and things like that. But since they are really trying to conserve on that water, you don't necessarily get that greenery. You have to travel to it. Number 4, how annoying HOAs are. Okay, so having lived in places like Southern Oregon and Los Angeles, and personally having never lived in an HOA, I wasn't quite prepared for how anal HOAs are. And of course, obviously, that's what HOAs are for. They're here to regulate the neighborhood, to make sure that everyone is in compliance and that it stays beautiful. But if you like to have friends over, gatherings, parties, things like that, or don't want people telling you what you can and can't do on your property, then an HOA is probably not going to be for you. When I first moved here into Southwest in the Rhodes Ranch community, I was super excited because it was like this little oasis getaway, which, you know, gave me the greenery that I was lacking in the rest of the city, but it did come at a price, and that is having the HOA. They are on it and they will ticket you at the drop of a hat. I think I had like a couple of weeds in my front yard that just like popped up that I didn't see, and I got cited for that. You can't have people past midnight here in this particular HOA. If you do, they will literally like gorilla glue a giant 8x11 ticket to your window that takes forever to get off of it. So I have had some friends and family members deal with that when, you know, we've been having people over and lost track of time. So that was a shocker and something to be aware of and to consider when you're moving here. Number 5, the tourists. Now, when you're living in the burbs here, it's really, you're not encountering too many tourists, but when you do go to places like the Strip or Hoover Dam or Lake Mead or not Lake Mead, Lake Las Vegas, or any of the what would be considered tourist attractions, even things like Red Rocks and Mount Charleston, you do get a lot of tourists here. Tourism is the biggest industry here, as you can imagine. We get over 40 million people a year here visiting, and it really does fuel the city. However, it does make for a little bit of a congested area and experience when you are just trying to go out and maybe, you know, do some of those things that are considered touristy. So yeah, but other than that, this place is amazing. There are so many benefits to it. So if you'd like to know what those pros are of living here in Las Vegas, check out my video here. Hopefully you found some value in this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up for that YouTube algorithm. And like always, if you guys are buying or selling in Las Vegas or have any questions, please feel free to book a Zoom call with me using the info below, and check out my website for all of the latest available properties. See you in the next one.